to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast, bringing another Dog Pack Discord preview episode. You guys previewing our matchup with the Chiefs. Matchup literally means nothing for the Cleveland Browns because we were mathematically eliminated after our loss to the Steelers. So we're gonna see what this team fighting for pride. So we're gonna see if they have any. So we'll see what team shows up on Sunday when we again take on the Chiefs, who have one loss and have everything to play for. So this is going to say a lot about the character of the guys on the team. Before we get into the matchup and our thoughts and what we want to look out for this week, remember, if you want to get your thoughts and intros on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop-down menu. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the new content coming out. I apologize for my terrible speech and probably sounding awful. I'm coming down with a little bit of a cold, so I also apologize if I had to blow my nose at any point during this. But at least we're doing it virtually so I don't get anybody else sick. This is just my life now. Like every 2 to 3 months, I'm going to get a head cold until the day I die, supposedly.
Yeah.
Apparently I don't have an immune system anymore. But if you prefer to just listen to the show, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google. And if you want to find us on any social media pages, just search at the Dawgs Podcast. You can also find us on the Big Play app now. We have at least one episode up there. I think probably 2. So if you're looking for another place to check us out, check out Big Play. There's also a lot of other cool shows on the Big Play app. Hanford, Dixon, Bobby Carpenter, some Ohio State shows. So go check us out there. Help Big Play out. Help us out. And lastly, if you're looking for more Dawgs content, you want to be a part of the preview episodes, you want to play fantasy football with us, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on our Patreon page. Again, you get to be a part of these episodes. In the offseason, you get an extra episode every week. You play fantasy football with us. We are officially in the playoffs. Yours truly has a first-round bye in our Discord league, so I'm just relaxing this week. We also do a pick'em, which has been a lot of fun this year. Some of the guys, it's a pretty tight race at the top, so we give out merch for whoever's going to win that. We're basically just always looking for excuses to give stuff away to people in there. You get to meet cool people from all over the world who are Browns fans and just cool people in general. So if you want more Dawgs content, you want to be a part of these episodes, you want to hang out with the Dawgs more frequently, pretty much around the clock, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member.
And speaking of the fantasy football leagues, we haven't really talked a bunch about it as the season's gone on, but this is the first week of the playoffs, like you said. And I just wanted to shout out Mama Tendo, one of our Dog Pack members. She's in the audience right now. And last year was her first year ever playing fantasy football. She came in the Dog Pack, played it with us, and it was rough. Like, she drafted like a rookie. She played like a rookie. Like, she took David Njoku in like the first or second round, Donovan Peoples-Jones the next round. We're like, okay. She's never played before. She come back this year, okay? She knows what she's doing. She's paying attention. She's following along. Yours truly as well. In my league, I have a first round bye. The other first round bye, Mama Tendo. So year 2, she came back with a vengeance, got that first round bye. So it's going to be a fun few weeks here in the playoffs.
It's pretty awesome. And I just, sky's the limit here in the Dog Pack. If you want to reach your goals, achieve your dreams, become a Dog Pack member.
That's right.
This is where dreams become reality. That's right.
Mama Ted is going to mess around and end up in the Champions of Champions Fantasy Dawgs Podcast League.
So, well, congratulations to Mom and Tendo on your first round bye. Enjoy a nice relaxing week off. Just watch a little bit of football, stress free. Maybe get a couple bets in, lose some money, or maybe win some money. Not me though. But I do want to preview the Chiefs game. This is different than a lot of years when you're playing the Chiefs. I think when you think Kansas City Chiefs, you think high flying offense, you think Patrick Mahomes, a lot of creative plays. High flying, tons of points. That's not really been their staple this year. They are a defense first. Just they went out and got Kareem Hunt, Pacheco's back. They got 2 physical running backs. Even Carson Steele runs hard. Their passing game it's not what it was, years ago when we played them in the playoffs with Tyreek Hill, a younger Travis Kelce. Like, And Travis Kelce's their leading receiver, 682 yards. And so they're definitely, Kareem Hunt has 608 rushing yards, to put that in perspective. And he hasn't even been there the whole year.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's a different Kansas City Chiefs team. If the defense shows up, maybe in a perfect world, you can keep this one close. But I fear the Browns will struggle to get anything going on offense, because this Chiefs defense, it's pretty much the reason they won the Super Bowl last year. I feel like it's only gotten better this year. They put the clamps down, and they make you beat them. They don't beat themselves. And it turns out the Browns are the best team in the history of the National Football League at figuring out ways to beat themselves. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people like to talk about the refs give them, favorable calls. They get so lucky. They make their own luck. They don't make mistakes and beat themselves. They don't put themselves in a position where a bad call is going to cost them the game. And they make you beat them. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said in the open, what Browns team shows up, especially with you have a team coming in at 12-1 and you have a team coming in that has no reason to be playing, essentially, other than put good film out there for your job next year. So it'll be interesting. Justin, what do you think about what kind of Browns team is going to show up Sunday, I guess?
I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't. And for me, it's a lot easier to just not really have expectations at this point. Part of me, it says, we're going to play them tough because they're, it's the Chiefs and they're a really good team. So why wouldn't this be a game that we're hanging around at the end? The problem is, and just from what I've seen, like on Hard Knocks and stuff like that, I still think the team's kind of bought in. I think most of the team still bought in. And they don't really have anything to play for, and they're just kind of talking about auditioning for next year and stuff like that. But the weather for Sunday is looking awful. It's supposed to be nasty, rain, up on the lake. So I'm expecting to see a lot of Pacheco, a lot of Hunt. And then, obviously with the Chiefs, if you let them hang around, or if, you just make mistakes, they capitalize. They're one of the best teams, honestly, ever. And just being there at the end, and then they go and finish it off. When people say refs and stuff like that, they know how to win. They're very good at just closing the game out. They know how to do it. They're one of the best in the business at it. But I expect a lot of Pacheco this week. And I don't know if he's physical. He's a gritty, hard runner like Kareem Hunt, but he's way younger and way more athletic. So I just expect a lot of that, just a lot of bully rushing.
Wouldn't be shocked if they try to make this like a Kareem Hunt statement game also. Yeah. Knowing that last year, like we did obviously go bring him back last year, and as a fan base, I think we all loved having Kareem, but it seemed like the organization was ready to distance themselves from him, and then they kind of brought him back out of necessity last year after the Chubb injury, and then we just let him walk again. And then Stump Mitchell kind of put that out in the media about maybe questioning his work ethic and whatnot. And so I wouldn't be shocked if this is like a 2-touchdown, like the short yardage situations are going to go to Kareem Hunt. I could see them wanting to get him involved. Let this be like a coming home, rub it in our face kind of game. I hope that Kareem Hunt knows that we, the fans, we loved having you, and he doesn't pull like an Isaiah Crowell when Crowell came back and he fake mooned the crowd or whatever. Hopefully he knows that he's beloved here in Cleveland, and I think he'll get a warm reception. I think if anything, if he has a good game, you're going to hear a lot of hate towards the Browns for him not being on our current roster, especially with how poor our run game is.
Yeah, I agree. I think that So the big thing, and you mentioned this, like the Chiefs have won a lot of close games this year, and they're 12-1. And unless I missed something when I went back and looked, 10 of those 12 wins have been by one score. So, they're edging out their opponents. They're not beating them, by 2-3 scores. They're not going up big and then just rolling, riding out the rest of the game. Like it's coming down to the wire for the Chiefs in most of their games this season. And with the weather, if it's going to be kind of nasty, the Browns at home, we play spoiler to good teams all the time. We did to the Ravens. We did it to the Steelers in bad elements against the odds. It's a game that, as much as the Browns have been bad this year and just hard to watch and kind of pathetic, it's the kind of game that if, it's 4:30 on Sunday afternoon, we're going, wow, we just won our fourth game somehow. I wouldn't be shocked. Now, do I think we're going to win? Not really, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see us somehow pull out a win when we shouldn't. It just kind of seems to be what we're doing this year.
I'd be kind of shocked if we. Well, the one thing that I want to see, and I would be shocked if we weren't, I had no faith in Dustin Hopkins last week. I am not surprised that he didn't hit any field goals. And we missed the first one. Second one, I didn't even look at the screen. I was like, we're not hitting this. And he overcompensated it. I knew we didn't hit it because I looked down and all my Browns backers were like, oh man, not again. Everybody's like throwing their napkins around like, type sucks. You know what I mean? And I understand what you're saying about the close game. I'm even kind of feeling that a little bit, but just with the indecision of our kicker and the inability to hit something under 40 yards is very concerning for a game that's going to be a wet, rock'em sock'em, tight game. If there's anything, if they can sit them, you heard Jameis Winston talk about how the kicker needs to support. He's got some family things at home. It's a kid that's not well. I mean, maybe it's time for the IR and just put Riley Patterson out there, and at least we can hit anything under 40. You know what I mean? If he's just not there. But it's the special teams that super worries me about this game. To just piggyback off what Josh said earlier about not being shocked if we win, I'd be kind of shocked if we won. Wouldn't be shocked if it's close in the fourth, because of how the teams are built, us being limited offensively by sucking, them being, I think a lot of people kind of caught on to their offense and they lost, what they had in Tyreek Hill and Xavier Worthy. Maybe he'll go on to be their stretch the field guy. He's actually played pretty well the last month. But they don't have that over the top threat, especially with an aging Travis Kelce. He's definitely slowed down, showed his age some this year. I wouldn't be shocked if it's close in the fourth quarter, but I could almost predict to you exactly what's going to happen. We'll play it close. It'll be the fourth quarter. We'll be like, holy shit, we might have a chance to win this game. And then we will do something stupid. And we will lose the game late in the fourth quarter by, again, eating ourselves. That's kind of the way. I don't want to be too negative, but I feel like this season just kind of warrants that. They haven't done anything to prove to me that that's not what's going to happen in this game. A couple things when I think about the Chiefs too, what you need to key in on to stop. Obviously, we already talked about the physical run game with Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. Pat Mahomes scrambles on third down more efficiently than almost any quarterback in the league. You don't think of him as a big running quarterback. He's second on their team in rushing with 248 yards this year. He averages 5 yards a carry, and I don't have my advanced statistics in front of me, and my statistician took the night off, but a lot of his scrambling yards are on, it's 3rd and 6, and he'll scramble for 7 and pick up a first down, and just back-breaking. He keeps the chains moving. That is the kind of thing that you have to limit. You can't let him scramble on these third downs and bail him out by you go straight man. You have to have eyes on him, I guess is basically what I'm trying to say in these third downs. And Browns struggle with fast, quick receivers. They'll look for creative ways to get the ball to Xavier Worthy. Like I said, for about a month or so, he's been getting a pretty consistent at least 4 or 5 target, or had at least 4 catches and 40 yards, I think, in 4 or 5 straight games. They're going to look for ways to get him the ball. And we struggle with top end speed guys like that, it seems. So that's just, those are the things. If the Browns do want to keep it close and they want to have a chance to win this game, late in the fourth quarter, those are, I think, are the things they need to focus on eliminating, or else they're not going to have much of a shot.
Yeah, I did want to mention we will be down a corner because Greg Newsome was placed on IR with that hamstring injury. So same hamstring that he had surgery on back in the, beginning of training camp and everything. So probably shut down for the year, to be my guess. I don't think we'll see Greg Newsome again. That means more of Cam Mitchell. And I think Miles Harden, the rookie, the 6th round rookie that the Browns took, 7th round rookie, right? Yeah, either way, late round pick for this year. He's been on IR, but I'm sure he'll probably get some run now that he's back as well. So we'll see how that secondary shakes out this week. This episode is brought to you by Manly Bands. Browns fans, and actually in particular, you Lady Browns fans out there, do you ever struggle to figure out what to get your man for Christmas? I know my wife, she's always asking me, what do you want for Christmas? And I have to tell her every single time, I don't really know. I don't really need anything. And I feel bad, but it's just kind of the way it is the truth. You can get your man an awesome new wedding band from manlybands.com. They've got some of the coolest bands on here. And even if you don't get anything, you should at least go to the website and check it out and see what they have. They've got bands featuring things like Lord of the Rings, Jack Daniel's Whiskey Barrel bands. They've got DC Comics, Jeep. They've got your traditional gold and white gold plated bands. They've got platinum. They've got titanium, tantalum, tungsten. They even have bands made out of meteorite and dinosaur bone, of all things. And every Manly band comes shipped with a free silicone band included, so that whenever your man is working out or hunting or swimming or working on the truck in the garage, whatever he's doing, he can take off the nice band that you got him, keep it safe, and put on that silicone band and keep on powering through. Right now, they've got 30% off all rings on their website, but this is for a limited time only. So if you want to get in there now. Take advantage of this opportunity, this sale for Christmas. That's manlybands.com/dogs. Use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, to get an extra 25% off your order. So not only are you getting 30% off from the website with this sale, you get an extra 25% off with our code DAWGS. It is a great opportunity. Get your man an awesome wedding band from Manly Bands for Christmas this year. That's manlybands.com/dogs. 30% off all rings on their website. Limited time only. 25% extra off your order with promo code DAWGS when you check out. That's manlybands.com/dogs. Promo code DAWGS.
I do want to mention, what did you guys think about the report that Martin Emerson's been dealing with a calf injury all year?
Dude, I totally called that like 2 weeks ago. I said, this is the way that things usually roll, is a guy's been struggling. There's like kind of an under the radar injury, and that comes out always this time of the year. And it came out, it's like clockwork.
Some people called BS, like he's just throwing an excuse out there for why he's regressed. I'd like to think, I'm hoping it's true. Yeah. In terms of, I would rather his regression this season be because he's trying to tough it through a calf injury all year than he just all of a sudden isn't a good football player. You know, like one of those is fixable. One of them is much harder to fix. So I obviously don't want him to be hurt, but I hope that there's truth to that. And he has been struggling with an injury, and he's just been trying to tough it out and play through it this season. That would explain a lot, because outside of watching Dustin Hopkins drop off and obviously DW drop off from what he was, there hasn't been a steeper drop off in terms of high level play on this roster outside of Martin Emerson, probably. I mean, he went from a guy that we thought was a Pro Bowl snub last year to a guy that has been a liability for a decent amount of this season. So it tracks, and I hope it's not just somebody throwing out an excuse. I do hope, like that there's an explanation for why there's been a drop off, because that gives me hope going into next season. Like, okay, get him healthy, and we're going to see the Martin Emerson that we've seen the last 2 years. Next year.
The one thing that Hanford Dixon says is, and it's a common problem with all our defensive backs that play bump and run, is that when they're bumping, they're not bumping into them. They're kind of bumping and stepping back, and they're not jamming the receivers like they should. And I just noticed that kind of what he was saying that the other day, and that's also something that they're not doing right.
I think a huge issue too with playing all this press man and struggling in the secondary is we don't get pressure on the quarterback like we used to, especially last season in our home games. And so now you have a corner who has a calf that's bothering him, so he's already banged up, not playing at 100%. Now you're asking him to cover longer than he's ever had to cover in this defense because we don't pressure the quarterback the way we used to, or one guy pressures him and the quarterback, all he has to do is just roll to the other side and get away from him. And now you're asking your corners who are playing press man to defend NFL wide receivers in the scramble drill. Well, it's hard enough when they're, you're like, oh, I think he's going to run a slant here. And you have some kind of predictability to what he's running, and you've watched film and you see his formation. You're like, okay, they like to run this out of this. So you're not 100% guessing. You get into the scramble drill, you have no idea what that guy's going to do. It all of a sudden increases the chance that he's wide open. It all of a sudden increases the likelihood of a defensive hold or a pass interference. So not pressuring the quarterback at the rate we did last year, I think, is killing this defense.
Well, and I think to go on top of Martin Emerson allegedly having this injury all season, kind of fighting through it, Myles Garrett's been fighting through these Achilles injuries, and like he's had lower body stuff that he's dealt with since like week 1 or 2 that we've been hearing about. And we were wondering back then, are they going to shut him down? Is it going to be 4-week IR? Like what's going to go on with Myles? And he hasn't missed any time. Like he's played every game. He's fought through it all. So I think that also contributes to that lack of pressure, not having Zadarius Smith anymore on the other side. Our defensive line is just kind of weak compared to what it was last year. But even for Myles to be able to do the things that he's doing this year, I mean, he's still sort of having now I don't think he's going to win the DPOY, but I think that he can still put himself in that conversation with the way he's been playing and everything, despite the injuries. So, kind of hats off to him and Martin too, if he's fighting through something. Cause like you said, Blake, like Pro Bowl snub last year, we thought for sure this guy played at a Pro Bowl level. He's going to be awesome this year. And he's been everything but. So I do kind of hate to say it, but I do hope he's hurt.
For people that seriously talking about we should trade Denzel Ward because we had Martin Emerson who could be our number 1 corner after last season. Thank God we didn't do that because Denzel Ward's arguably one of his best season as a Cleveland Brown in the NFL. So thank God we didn't do that.
I was going to say, we've all mentioned that there's something wrong with his demeanor. He does not look as confident as he did last year. Like, I mean, you can even think when he was playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars, like he owned them. He was running the route. I think he had 2 interceptions that game, and he just looked really good. This year, he's kind of always just stumbling behind, and he's just not the way he used to be.
Yeah, totally agree with you. So we'll start the stage here with the audience. First one up is Brad.
Hey, you guys.
What's up, buddy?
I'm watching this yawn fest of a West Coast game.
Yeah, not what I thought we were going to be having tonight.
So, yeah. Oh yeah, as far as fantasy goes, can we have a shout out for Andrew for having the worst fantasy season of all time in the Dynasty League?
It's we talk about
the won a game
Nope.
all season, and he scored the lowest points ever in fantasy, I think.
Yeah, like 9.
Yeah.
Winning single game. That is tough.
Dude, I mean, his team was kind of not great, not very strong, and then he got the injury bug with those players, and it's been brutal for him.
So it's a dynasty league, though. I mean, he's full rebuild now. He's got a bunch of draft picks, so he can turn that organization around. My team is on its way up, but I definitely need a few more players. I don't know. Justin's team kind of got a little mid there in the middle there, but it's still hanging on.
Well, there's something you're not, so I don't know what to tell you. See you next year, bro. Defending champion, Justin Charles, just to remind you, Bradley. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, I still got one win on you, bro.
Lay, dog. Lay ya.
Anyways, as far as the Chiefs go, yeah, we ain't gonna win this game. Just look at the Chiefs this year. It's not even like just as like they kind of just play good enough to win. It's not even that. You already know, like, we have like what? We're like 4th or 5th in penalties. So, the refs are their best friends. So they'll start throwing flags all over the place for Myles Garrett, for whoever. And it'll just be whatever. They'll let the Chiefs win that game. But I mean, we could maybe beat them just because they're like, oh, let's give them another loss, so it's not just one loss or something. They got to the playoffs through a little bit of adversity or something. Not really, but I don't know. It's just like you're saying, the weather's supposed to be meh, and it's just like whatever. Half of our defense is hurt. Maybe Emerson's playing hurt too, and it's just Denzel's playing hurt. I think Hicks is kind of playing hurt too. Miles has been hurt pretty much all season, but he's been playing through it. So it's just one of those games. I could take it or leave it at this point. Give me a top 5 pick and let's rebuild this thing.
Wow,
now,
Brad bringing the optimism, man. You got that excitement tonight. I think people are going to be racing to watch this game on Sunday afternoon, man.
I got a positive thing rolling into this game, honestly. I was really, really impressed with what Cedric Tillman was doing up until that concussion. Cedric Tillman probably is going to play this week again.
I hope
for the first time in 3? No? You say yeah? Okay.
No,
I was going to say it looks
so.
like he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. It looks like he's tracking at least that way. I expect Judy to kind of get shadowed by the young kid McDuffie. I kind of think Tillman might have a nice game, kind of a decent, solid game if they can, get to chucking it around a little bit. And Chris Jones, I think, is going to feast. He's a dog. He's a game breaker. So, but if they can actually get the passing game going a little bit, I expect Cedric Tillman to kind of shine, pick up where he left off.
Well, one thing I want to get from you guys is I know it's just a very shallow statement from the owner, but what's your take on Jimmy's yeah, I'm all for Kevin and Barry coming back, and it's just his bewilderment of why this team is as bad as it is.
Well, let me just go ahead and kick that off, because I will say, aren't we all kind of shocked too that we're this bad this year? I mean, we came into this season with high expectations. We were talking about what makes this season successful, and it was not just the playoffs, but you got to win at least a playoff game or two, excuse me, to have this be a successful season. And we win 3 games. The drop off has been drastic and very significant. So I don't think Jimmy's wrong for saying, yeah, I'm kind of surprised we're this bad. And we've talked all year, don't really want to get rid of Kevin, don't really want to get rid of AB, kind of think maybe there's just some other things going on, and it was nothing went our way this year. I think we brought in a lot of the wrong people in terms of the offensive coaching staff. I don't think any of those guys have helped anything. They made everything worse. Defensively, we haven't been very good on the road 2 years in a row, so we've seen that continue this year. I think we just have other things we need to get fixed. Special teams has been abysmal this season, and obviously the quarterback play derailed everything from the jump. So I know it's easy to want to point fingers and say fire the coach, fire the GM, tear it down to the studs, rebuild everything because we're so bad, but maybe we're not as bad as it seems. It's just everything's going wrong right now, and it feels like it's the end of the world. But that's just kind of my take right now.
I think the biggest thing that bewilders me or perplexes me is how injured this team is since last year. We had a lot of guys go on the IR, and all those guys do not seem to be healthy. And I don't know what's going on, because I was listening to you guys just 10 minutes ago going, oh, Miles is injured and Denzel's injured. Delvin Tomlinson might have missed 2 games this year. Our offensive line was in shambles. And we looked awful starting against Dallas. And we all said to ourselves, we keep playing like this, we'll be lucky if we win a game. And this is the rate it's going at. And it's just been one after another, just a turnstile of injuries and line combinations on both sides. The only guys that were stalwarts have been Miles, just those guys that are really good. And it's just been really tough because we say, hey, we lack the consistency, but we don't have the players show up. We always have the longest injury list, and we lose a ton of guys. And that does make a difference. Not to mention, like, the biggest piece of our offense was Amari Cooper. He didn't practice all offseason. Jerry Jeudy barely practiced all offseason. And we expected this all the pieces to fall into place and go. And then somehow magically, like, Chubb was going to come back, and then he would be running off to another 1,200 yard pace. And it never happened. And we kind of sold ourselves.
Browns fans, if you're like me, you put off all your Christmas shopping till the last minute because you don't really know what to get everybody anyway. But I like to get a lot of the people in my family, my loved ones, the gift packages from Omaha Steaks. These things are the perfect gift, and it lasts the end of the year because they're not going to use all the food right away. So whenever they break out the steaks in January, February, March out of their freezer, they remember, hey, you got that for them for Christmas. And I know it's a great gift because I've had a ton of Omaha Steaks and all their food myself. The taste, phenomenal. It's like the best meat you can get. And Omaha Steaks makes everything this Christmas very easy. They've got their expertly crafted gift packages ready for Christmas. So give the gift of comfort and joy with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide on unforgettable gifts and more. And for an extra $30 off, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, at checkout. Minimum purchase may apply. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and get an extra $30 off with promo code DAWGS at checkout.
Not to get off topic, I just kind of was looking more at like the Chiefs stuff. And we kind of talked about their offense and how if we wanted to keep it close, we would just, if we show up and play stout defense, our offense isn't explosive. I think people be a little shocked. Offensively, they're kind of similar to the Browns this year. And some of they average 5 more points a game than us. They average less yards per game than we do. So they average 355 yards a game. We average, it's 15. We average 15 less yards, or 20 less yards a game than them at 335. We've ran more plays than they have. We have more penalties, but less penalty yards. So, like, they're -4 in turnover ratio, I believe. If I'm reading the stats, like, their offense is not good. This with the weather at home. This is a game that the defense, in theory, should play well. Like, they should struggle to move the ball against us. Another thing that people might not realize about the Chiefs is their red zone offense is bad. They're bottom of the league. If you can eliminate the big play and the stupid play and don't get beat over the top, even if you give up yards between the 20s, once they get inside the red zone, they struggle to score touchdowns. And that's going back even to last year. They're at the bottom of the league in red zone efficiency in terms of touchdowns scored. Like, this is, again, I'll be shocked if we win, but I'm not going to be shocked if this is at least a very close. I can see this being a boring football game, to be honest. And it's going to be who beats themselves. And one thing that I thought was telling, if you look at the penalties, they have 76 penalties for 674 yards this year. They average 51 penalty yards a game. We have 96 penalties for 725 yards at 55 penalty yards per game. We only average 4 more penalty yards per game than them, even though we have 40 more penalties.
That's crazy.
It tells me, you know what I mean? It tells me, or 20 more penalties. It tells me that a lot of their penalties are probably pass interference, that kind of stuff down the field.
Yeah.
And we're getting, if our penalty yards is that much lower, even with 20 more penalties, what does that tell you about ours? pre-snap.
Mm-hmm.
What penalties are the least? The 5-yarders. They're the pre-snap penalties. We're killing ourselves with pre-snap penalties, illegal motions, false starts, all that good stuff. Like, cut that out. Show up and make them earn it once they get inside the red zone. Don't give up stupid plays. Don't get beat over the top like we did in Denver. And you maybe have a chance to keep this a 1-score game. And then obviously we talked about almost all their games are 1 score because they don't beat themselves. So just maybe come out and one time play a clean game in the 4th quarter. Don't do something stupid. Make them beat you. And I guess see what happens. Because if you really start to dive, I said that backwards, into some of the offensive stats for both of these teams, we're eerily similar, and we're a bad offense. We're not a good offense at all. The biggest difference is our third down efficiency, which we talked about this on our last episode, is 28.26%, or 52 of 184 on the season, which is just freaking god awful. I can't even believe that's a thing. Their third down efficiency is 51.96. They are 93 of 179, and a lot of that is Patrick Mahomes picking them up with his legs on the scrambles. They managed to keep the chains moving, even though they're not an explosive offense. They're not, scoring 40 points a game like they used to. They managed to sustain drives and stay on the field, which is that. I mean, that's essentially the difference in the two offenses. They can stay on the field on third down. We can almost never stay on the field on third down.
That's fair.
Dude, it's like you're totally saying it right, because I was going to say something similar, but what I'm going to get at is those pre-snap penalties, because we can't get through 3rd and 11. Is it just me, or are we always at 3rd and 11? Because for some reason we've got some 5-yard penalty and we just aren't good enough to get out of it. And if we can just not have those penalties and put ourselves in a better position to be on 3rd down, like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, and just stay there, we could have a big possibility to win this game. The other stat that's really different from last year is Chiefs David Njoku. He's only averaging 7.8 yards an attempt, or catch, I meant to say. And for the majority of his career, he's around 10, I believe. And it seems to me, because we keep going offsides or have these procedure penalties, what's the next play after that everybody knows is going to happen? It's a shitty run, or it's a dump off to Njoku. Those are the two things that happen, and they're killing us. They're freaking killing us, man.
The bad thing is there's a great chance that David Njoku doesn't play this weekend. They're pretty much they're not shutting him down 100% this week, but they basically said most likely he won't play this weekend. It'll be a tight end by committee.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But also what Blake was saying too about the Chiefs. I was watching the Chiefs and the Chargers last Sunday night. They're playing in a dome, so there's no weather situation going on or anything like that. And exactly what Blake was talking about, like the Chiefs, they can pick up their third downs, they can move the balls inside the 20s, but once they get down in the ends of the field, they do not convert into touchdowns very often. It's a lot of field goals. They have a lot of low scoring games. And so even in the weather, like it really will limit potentially what they're able to do as far as that success rate even more. So I'm with you. I think this could be a low scoring game unless Jameis is ripping it through. This Chiefs defense is serious, though. You talked about at the beginning of the show, Blake. I mean, they're legit. It is going to be a true test, though. I mean, we have seen Jameis, struggle against some good defenses, the Chargers, and also, have some bigger games, but we'll just kind of see what happens. He's probably going to turn the ball over. So it's just where does that happen, and what are they able to do with it?
So we were also talking about Kareem Hunt. And, Travis Kelce's going to want to have a big game as well. And the last time that those guys came to town was when Baker's rookie year, I believe. And they blew us up. It was like Kareem Hunt screen, Travis Kelce in the middle, and just repeat. And if that's the case, then good luck with this game. But if we can hold those guys in the check and they don't have a big game like they have it for most of the year, I think Travis Kelce, he only has 2 touchdowns, I believe. And we have a good shot.
This might sound crazy to say if like people haven't been following the Chiefs super closely or the league and you're just kind of focused on the Browns. Patrick Mahomes is turnover prone this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's thrown 11 picks. And I think at one point, I don't know, I haven't kept up with the last few weeks, but at one point this year, he thrown an interception like,
oh, there it is.
I told you it's going to happen.
It was coming.
He threw an interception in like double digit straight games. And he's got 20 touchdowns and 11 picks. He's got under a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio this year. You can pick him off. So like I said, like there's so many things, which is why I understand why you said you wouldn't be shocked if somehow we get out of this game with a win. I'm not going to say that until,
no, well, listen,
season has given me no reason to believe that
I'm not predicting it. I'm not saying to expect it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying with the potential for this to be a low scoring kind of, bruising battle between the two teams, if the Browns somehow make fewer mistakes in the fourth quarter and edge out a win, kind of like they did against Pittsburgh on Thursday night, because remember, we talked about the stats in that game. They outplayed us across the board pretty much. We had no reason to win that game. We did. That's where I'd be like, well, hey, this is the NFL. I'm not shocked that we ended up edging it out, but I would never predict it to happen. Not this year.
But to Blake's point, wasn't, like, maybe I'm making this up, wasn't Mahomes 8-9 TD to interception ratio, and then he went on like a 12-2 run? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure.
No,
I'm
sure.
I'm not 100% sure. I know he's thrown some picks. I know he took out his number one receiver, on an interception.
Yeah.
This is
No shots fired.
This kind of tells you the story of their passing game this year. Rashee Rice is still, he would be fourth on the team in receiving if they hadn't traded for DeAndre Hopkins.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so if they hadn't, he is still, he's tied for second in terms of touchdown receptions. With two.
And he's only played like 3 or 4 games.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's not an explosive Chiefs offense like we're used to seeing in years past. This is a game that the defense should be able to play well, maybe force a turnover. You just got to limit the run game, keep Mahomes in the pocket on third down, and then we have to come out and just not turn the ball over. Again, the same blueprint, essentially how the first half of the Steelers game was, and we talked about it on the preview episode before that Steelers side. It's going to be ugly. Grind it out. We're going to punt a lot. We got to stay committed to the run game, even if we're only getting 2 yards a carry at some point. Just to keep ourselves in advantageous situations in terms of flipping the field with Bojo, because he's punting great this year. Play the field position game. Grind it, make it ugly. And kind of how that first half was. And then you saw the wheels come off in the second half and we lose by 2 scores. If you can do it for a whole 60 minutes and you give yourself a chance to win at the end.
I agree, man.
So
I say I can just see some of the talent in football. I just want to see like 3 phases work all together. Just one more time, please.
Wouldn't that
before
be
the end
nice?
of the season.
no, we want to watch Kadarius Toney throw a ball at anybody or muff a pint. So that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Rory.
That was a craziest sequence of play. Oh man, I'm gonna be depressed.
I will say this. One, people say the Browns hang on to players too long. They did not hold on to Toney too long.
No.
He's on the active roster like a couple days. And they were like, well, you haven't earned the kind of clout to get the benefit of the doubt in that situation. See ya. I don't want to get too off track. The Browns at some point have to start paying attention to the types of individuals they bring into the locker room. And I touched on this earlier this year with the Michael Hall situation. Lack of discipline? Well, of course there's a lack of discipline. You're bringing known lack of discipliners into the locker room on a regular basis. And obviously I just made up that word, but how can you expect us to be, how can you expect us to have discipline on the field and not have these penalties and to be focused and all this stuff when you're bringing known people into your locker room and on your team, that is not their strength. Kadarius Toney has been a locker room cancer, literally every single team he's been on. He is only in the league still because he had 2 games as a rookie where he looked good. And from that, he hasn't done anything since. And it's just, we bring guys like him, and obviously we were all on board with DW, but there's clearly, concerns with his discipline. We draft guys like Michael Hall, clearly issues with his discipline. Like at some
Perry on
point,
Winfrey.
Yes, Perry on Winfrey. I'm not saying you got to go get choir boys. Like it's the NFL and there's baggage on every roster. But at some point, you have to take the character of the individual into account at least sometimes, or else you're just going to continue to be plagued by this. I don't care who your coach is. You need Coach Carter to come in and get some discipline. You know what I mean? Like freaking Coach Boone, because it's just, you're not going to get disciplined play when you're filling your roster full of undisciplined people. They're grown men. I don't care what coach you have. They're grown men. They're only going to, if they don't want to listen at this point, they made it to this point in their career, they're not going to listen. They're getting paid millions of dollars to do a job. And if they're at this point and you're willing to sign them to a roster, even though they've been pieces of shit before, why would they change? So it's just like at some point, hopefully going forward, and if AB's here for this draft and this free agency, like please take no more drama filled. If you can stay on the straight and narrow, maybe he'll be a good pick. Like, can we just pick some guys that are quiet? Can we, keep their head down and go to work type players? A couple more Nick Chubbs, Amari Cooper's when he first got here. Can we get some more guys like that? Because I'm freaking tired. The drama stuff it's got to stop, dude. So,
the only one I'll defend is, or the only one I'll use in any sort of defense is Kareem Hunt. They took a flyer on Kareem Hunt. It panned out. Like he got his act together, came and played great football for the Browns, and by all accounts, other than Stump Mitchell saying he had missing meetings and things like that, it seemed like he was a pretty good guy in the locker room and all that stuff. But for every Kareem Hunt, you're going to have so many Michael Halls and Tonys and, Perry on Winfrey's and stuff. So you're right, Blake. Like it's just not even worth the risk.
And again, like I said, I'm not saying you need to bring choir boys on to the team. Like it's, these guys are egomaniacs. They think that there's a reason they're here. You have to have that chip, that edge to get to this point, but got to be some balance. We can't just fill the roster full of these people and then wonder why we're not disciplined. Like, well, duh. So I forget what my other point was going to be before I got way off topic. So I won't just sit here and you guys to death. So I'm good if you guys are good, unless somebody else wanted to come up here, but nobody's got their hands up. So I think if we can go ahead and wrap this thing up again, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us, even through a dark season, or we're getting closer to the off season, which should be a lot of fun, a lot of cool scenarios. The best time of the year. What's better, Christmas or draft season for the Browns? Draft season. So we're going to so we're going to get you, dust off your copies of draft day and just, get ready. Only a few more weeks left of this atrocious, terrible season. And we'll get to the fun part of our lives, sadly, which hurts me to say, but that's where we're at. So again, we appreciate you guys sticking with us for an entire season. We appreciate you Dogpack Discord members for helping us out on these episodes, hanging out with us all the time, supporting the show. We'll see you guys Monday night, I believe. Either hopefully maybe talking about a win, but at least talking about like a good first half.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after. Danger Coffee's patent pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter. And most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients. Plus, it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. Dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS.